really set the stage of this is what we stand for. This is what we do every day. And if you read the motto we have to champion the success of our franchisees, that speaks to it. That's who we are. And I think every new hire we make, every support per person we have, it's really about that. And it starts with me, I know, but ultimately we have to cascade that down to the entire team and ensure that everyone on this team is living the values, living who we are each and every day. Because franchising, if we simplify it, if the franchisees do well, we get drug along. So why would we not be solely focused on driving growth, driving efficiency, driving profitability? We should do that because if the franchisees have success, by definition, we're going to. So.
Welcome to the Art of Franchise Marketing. Each episode takes a deep dive into the franchise space and explores how the biggest and best brands handle national branding, franchise development, employee recruitment, and localized marketing on a daily basis. This podcast is brought to you by Netsertive, a localized digital marketing partner for franchise networks. Netsertive's Madeline Park talks shop with franchise executives to discuss what's working, what's not, and answers the question, what else can you be doing to excel at the art of franchise marketing?
Welcome back, everyone, to the Art of Franchise Marketing. Today, I have Scott, the CEO of Empower Brands. Scott, thanks for joining me today.
You got it. Great to be here.
So most people are going to know who you are, but for any of our newcomers or our potential franchise candidates, can you give us a little background on who you are, how you got into franchising? You've got some pretty unique history in franchising, one concerning a little small brand called Mosquito Squad. So I think, our listeners would love to hear, how you've kind of grown into this role over at Empower.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been lucky enough that I've spent my entire career in franchising. I was 23 years old, got done with school and had this crazy dream to own my own business, and franchising seemed like a good route to take. So a friend of mine who became a partner of mine, we opened 2 sub shops in St. Louis, Missouri, where we were both born and raised. And that was really what launched me and launched my career into franchising. So I was a franchisee first of the sub shops. And then we also, my wife, Erin, and I, we licensed the Outdoor Lighting Perspectives brand as well. We were the 5th franchisee of that brand. So really learned a lot about franchising, owning your own business, the franchisor relationship and how important that is. And really realized how important support, training, the coaching, the mentoring, how important that was. And I think that's what that experience as a franchisee has really set the stage for my career when I transitioned over to the franchisor, which I was asked to lead the Outdoor Lighting Perspectives brand almost 20 years ago now. And I was 31 years old and leading this brand. It was the first time I was leading a brand, and I really leveraged my experience as a franchisee and realized how important it was to put the right support team in place, ensure that our onboarding, our training, everything we were doing was world-class. And as we were growing what we call the OLP brand, that's when we had this idea to start a mosquito control brand. And we didn't know it, but we were creating a category at the time because Mosquito Squad was the first. And we became, at that time, this was back in 2005. So we became a multi-branded franchisor at that time. Both we had the Outdoor Lighting Perspectives brand and we had Mosquito Squad, which was just getting off the ground. And it was really around that same time that I met Chris Grand Prix, who became a partner of mine. He was my counterpart at Archidec.
Okay.
And we were the two that joined forces, came together, and we founded Outdoor Living Brands,
Mm-hmm.
which was a outdoor focused home services platform.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2008, 2009 timeframe, we formed Outdoor Living Brands. Our first three brands were Architect, Outdoor Lighting Perspectives, and Mosquito Squad. We spent 11 plus years growing Outdoor Living Brands. We added a few brands, we divested a few brands, and ultimately through COVID, we weren't, as most people didn't know, we didn't know what was going to happen. So as we saw our business thrive and grow during COVID, like most home services businesses did, we thought we could put the foot on the gas and grow even faster and achieve the long-term goals that we had. So we actually in 2021 went to market to find a private equity sponsor and partner. And through that process, we met the team at Lynx Franchising. And Lynx was very similar to Outdoor Living Brands. The only real difference was their brands were on the commercial side of things. Okay. And as we got to know them, we felt it would be a cultural fit was there. The strategic fit was there because we both wanted to diversify ourselves, become a larger, more scaled platform by joining forces. So it was September of 2021 when we partnered with Lynx, and Lynx was owned by Mid-Ocean Partners at the time and still is. And I was asked to step into the CEO role about 4 months into that. There was some change.
Oh boy.
There was some change going on, and they wanted continuity. They wanted someone who had a franchisee first background, like I did, and it was a great fit. So I've been in the CEO role for about 18 months now, and one of the first priorities I had was I needed to unify both Lynx and Outdoor Living Brands. While we were together, we really weren't. So one of the ways to do that was to rebrand ourselves. So we went through a process last year to figure out what was the right mission, purpose, the values, the branding. The brand name came last, and that's where Empower Brands came from. And we launched it. It's been almost exactly a year ago now, where Lynx and Outdoor Living Brands is gone. We've buried those names, and we've been Empower Brands for about a year, and we're up to 11 brands now. We had a very busy 2023 where we added 4 new brands, Koala Insulation, Wallaby Windows, and then we have 2 brands that we're incubating or greenfielding, Bumble Roofing, and then Canopy Lawn Care are the 2 newest brands we have. So yes, a lot going on. I've been lucky enough to spend my entire career in franchising, and I just love the space.
You know, I think it's very easy for a listener to, because I think P&E is very popular now and people are more comfortable talking about it. And it's very easy for a listener to sit back and be like, oh yeah, Empower Brands, they acquired 4 more brands, yada, yada, yada. That, I don't think people understand the magnitude of that. That is like having a child, only the child comes out and it can drive, it can smoke, it can drink, but you also have to nurture the shit out of it. So to do that 4 times is insane. So, kudos to your team for doing that. My first question from this is because last year I tried to hang or attempted to hang my own lighting on my deck. I used the zip ties and the poles from Amazon and it was fine. Like, it didn't look good. But as soon as we turned them on, the mosquitoes came in full force. And Scott, we own a mosquito control franchise and it was still bad. So I'm wondering, did the need for mosquito control come because the outdoor lights, it just, they attract mosquitoes? Was that like where that thought came from, or was it completely separate?
It was part of it. So with the lighting business, we do demos at night. So we show up to a homeowner's house and we set lights up and we spend some time outdoors, and the designer would get eaten alive at night.
Yeah.
So that was part of it, but we had been looking at the outdoor pest space
Sure.
for a few years and trying to figure out what might be a unique, differentiated way to enter that space, but also do it with a recurring revenue approach. And that's where the backpack came about. That's where we went to somebody's house every three weeks. So we spent about 2 years testing and trying different things until we figured it out. And
so what you're telling me is it's your fault that there's a million backpack sprayers in my garage right now.
That's right. It's probably our fault.
Talk to me about what it was like creating an industry or an industry vertical, I guess I should say, because it's hard enough to create a new brand, a new franchise. We built what at the time was FlyFo at the ground up. And Scott, I kid you not, we literally were like, okay, copy what Mosquito Squad, Mosquito Joe, Mosquito Shield, like, just copy it. And it was impossible. And to this day, like, it really hasn't cracked. And I think that that's because how competitive it is, whatever. But that said, I can't imagine the added layer of, creating an industry vertical with, yes, the demand is there, but you kind of have to tell everyone, you have this problem. I know you have this problem, but now you have to spend to fix this problem. So what was that like for you guys? And what did it look like on the franchisor side in terms of investment, time, building a team, franchising it?
Yeah. So I think the first step was to educate the homeowner. They didn't even know the service was there or they could even do it. So the consumer awareness piece took us years to penetrate that and figure out what was the right marketing mix that would allow us not to just say Mosquito Squad, but to also say mosquito control. So the awareness piece, I believe, is what made this hard. Yeah. Most of the times you get into, like we are, roofing, lawn care, people know what that is. This was, nobody knew anything. So there was a lot of the marketing investment, the lead gen investment, I would say was 2-3x what it is right now. Wow. Just because of the awareness piece. So we spent a lot of effort in the early months and years working with agencies and focus groups and research of trying to figure out what would be the best way for us to go to market and ensure that we could not just build the Mosquito Squad brand, but build the mosquito control awareness in category. And it took, I say, a few years. It probably took 5 years, long time. So I would say the awareness, marketing, advertising, lead gen is where we spent a lot of our time. The operational side, we figured out the secret sauce. Sure. We figured that out. We figured out the backpack, trucks, and all that. That wasn't that hard. We had one of my partners was an ops guy, and he figured it. He figured all of that out. So I would say the routing and the tech and the product and the equipment, all of that we figured out pretty quickly. It was the awareness, lead gen, and then getting customers to take a chance. I'll try it. So we had a lot in the early days. It was just give us a try. We'll sell one spray for $29 or whatever it was, and just try us. And then the packages, the season-long packages came about, and the industry is, of course, as you know, morphed into really a renewal subscription-based category, which is fantastic. And we didn't know we were creating a category, so I can't say it was intentional. There's a lot of luck involved in these things.
Well, I appreciate the transparency on how long it takes, because I think because it's so easy to turn campaigns on and turn marketing on and spend money these days, people expect leads and conversions to come just as quick. And the reality is it doesn't. So, if you're out there and you're even if you're in an established market or an established category and you're a new brand, it's going to take time. You just can't rush, that kind of consumer awareness and consumer trust. Now, as you grow on Empower side and kind of sticking with the theme, are you guys 100% set on only being outside the house? Or are you open to also, brands that or services that could potentially do, the insides as well? Because I know like insulation's kind of in/out,
No, I believe over the next 3 to 5 years, it'll be the whole home. It won't just be outdoors. We had our niche in the outdoors, but I
Yeah.
think to grow and scale and get to where we want to be over the next 5 to 10 years, going inside the home with certain sectors will be something we do. And as we, our pipeline for potential add-ons is large. There are many of those brands on that list that are inside the home. So there's not a preference to stay outdoors. One of the things we're beginning to work on is putting the data warehouse, the tech in place to begin to cross promote and cross sell. I think the alignment of the outdoors helps us with that, because when somebody puts in a new fence, what do they tear up? The irrigation. When somebody puts a deck on the back of their home, they probably will need lights. So there's a wonderful fit that we have with the outdoor brands. But again, long term, we want to be one of the premier whole home services platforms out there.
And I like the focus on that because it seems so like a no-brainer. Your customer, oh, you can do my irrigation, you can do my fencing, you can clean my windows, you can clean my house. It seems so easy, but the reality is it's very difficult. And we saw that on the franchisor side. I see that as the franchisee side. So we have 4 brands, all home services. 2 of them are inside, 2 of them are outside. And I swear to God, Scott, it's like we have to reintroduce ourselves every single time. It's like, nope, you've been our client for MadePro for 10 years and the same person, I can just now clean your windows. And so, having a digital platform and a franchise foundation on the Zor side that can support that cross-selling, I think is crucial, because honestly, the emails or the cross-branded direct mails, they're just not cutting it nowadays. And it's just not realistic to ask a franchisee, oh, you own 3 brands, you have to spend the same amount in each brand for those same customers. There's got to be a better way.
So we're working on it. We know that this is a journey that is years. It's not months. And Neighborly, has set the standard for it. They've done a fantastic job with that. And I know it took them years as well. So I think you have to have the footprint. You have to have the right brands. There's a lot of things that have to fall into place to get to a point where you can penetrate enough to make it worth it to put the infrastructure, the investment behind all that.
Yeah, I like that call out too, because it's kind of, cart before the horse. And it happens in a lot of industries. They want the fancy, they want the sizzle. Oh, if we just had this, then we'd have that. And in reality, it's, you have to have that solid foundation. You have to have the right pieces in place for any of that to work. You can bring in the fanciest car ever, but if you don't know how to drive, it's not going to matter. I have experience with that. Don't ask my dad. So, you were put in place originally, and as you started your leadership journey, because you were a franchisee, you were franchisee focused, you had the mindset. Now, you've been one step removed from the franchisee life for quite some time. How do you make sure that you're still in tune with that? You're not losing sight of that. And especially as you grow, I remind franchisees all the time, like, your franchisor, you have one set of parents. That is your franchisor. Your franchisor had like quadruplets 90 times. So, there's a different relationship there. So how do you make sure that you're not losing sight of what made you in the franchise space to begin with?
Yeah. Well, first off, I'll say it's part of my DNA. It's just who I am. I don't think it will ever go away, no matter how large we get or the roles that I'm in. But I think going through the rebranding process is what helped us solidify it because of the purpose, the mission, the values. It allowed myself, it allowed the team to really set the stage of this is what we stand for, this is what we do every day. And if you read the motto we have to champion the success of our franchisees, that speaks to it. That's who we are. And I think every new hire we make, every support per person we have, it's really about that. And it starts with me, I know, but ultimately we have to cascade that down to the entire team and ensure that everyone on this team is living the values, living who we are each and every day. Because franchising, if we simplify it, if the franchisees do well, we get drug along.
Right.
So why would we not be solely focused on driving growth, driving efficiency, driving profitability? We should do that because if the franchisees have success, by definition, we're going to. So it's who we are. It's who I am. That will not change, no matter how large we get or however many brands we get. And I think it has served us well. Our relationships with the franchisees across the brands are incredibly strong. The surveys we do, we get very high scores on those, and we track that because it's that important to us to know that the relationships are strong, we're aligned, we're going down the same road together. So it's just in the environment here, and it's again worked out very well.
And on that note, I think a lot of leaders in your position have discussed the realistics or the real side of acquisition and growing pains. You know, franchisees at best are neutral. Some of them are scared. Some of them are upset. And it takes a while for them to adjust to their new life, new life under a new franchisor. But we often don't talk about what that's like for the corporate team, because it is not solely just, we brought on another team and all these teams work simultaneously in their own silos. It's very collaborative. There's a lot of cross work, and there's a lot of risk of your home office employees who signed up for one job and now they've got, multiple other hats on, and maybe they got paid for it. Maybe they don't. Maybe it's tied to different kind of commissions. There's a lot of opportunity for burnout. And as you can tell, I'm speaking from both experience and, having loved ones that have gone through it. How do you manage that on the corporate side? Because it's very easy to say, we're championing our franchisees' success. But the truth is that if your employees even have a bit of, this is not fair, they have all this money and they're just, it's so easily trickled down to the franchisees, which in turn, it destroys everything. So how do you make sure that your team, as you're growing, doesn't get to that point and they're always 100% behind championing your franchisees? Because they could even be the best players, but you load their shoulders enough and something's going to give.
And it does get stretched. I'd be naive if I didn't say that. So we have shared teams here, the marketing, IT, Fran Dev. Those are all shared teams where they're working across brands. Those are the teams that feel the pressure of that, because they're the ones who really are what I would refer to as integrating a new brand. We have always, as we've acquired brands, every single time we keep the brand team in place, the support team that was there. We do not, it's not who we are to just go in and change up that team. They got to this point because of that team. Why would we now want to change them out? So it's our job now to build a relationship and get aligned with that team. And the shared teams are the ones who carry that load. I will say you have to be prepared to invest in the shared teams. We've added, with all this growth we've had, we added 42 new members to our team over the last 17 months.
Wow.
And that's how you not get into the position that you described, where everybody's burnt out.
Yep.
They feel overwhelmed. This is not what I signed up for.
Mm-hmm.
So our shared teams have grown. They've grown a lot. And the talent that we've brought into the org has been just incredible. We've upskilled in certain places. And to me, it's about continuing to build the shared teams as you add brands. And if you do that well, the pressure is not as bad. You're spreading the workload across that team. It's not on one person's shoulders. And then from a cultural standpoint, the koala installation example, I think, is a good example. They have a fantastic team. That team had been in place for a few years. That business has grown very, very fast. And we took, I think, 12 of us from our team here at Empower down there, and we spent a couple days simply to bond. It was a team building trip. So we put the relationship first because we know if we can build that, then trust will come and the collaboration will come. So there's a very intentional approach to how do we integrate and make sure that the new brand and the new team, they feel like they're part of something that's it's bigger. It's something that allows them to grow, maybe allows them to grow in their career as well. Opportunities come with growth. And that's what happens a lot here is somebody works for one brand and they've been with that brand, but a promotion opens up at a different brand and they take that leap. And it's a wonderful career move for them.
Do you think it takes a different type of, I'll say, franchise executive to be on a platform multi-brand level than a person that's, maybe a single brand?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think if you do it right with one brand, you can do it right with 5 or 6 because it's all about the right team, the training, the coaching, the support, all the drivers of successful franchising doesn't change because it's 5 brands or 10 brands versus one. Yes, it's more complex and the structure evolves, but if you've had success as a founder or as an executive in the franchising space, moving to a multi-branded approach, I don't think that's a huge leap.
I like that because, with a different project I have called Fran Careers, oftentimes I get franchises that say, send me only resumes if they have platform experience. And while I understood that to a point, I was, curious your aspect of, does it really matter? Because in franchising, it's pretty simple. If you get the grasp of why things matter and how they work and you're, built a successful tenure over that, like to your point, it's going to work with 5, 10, 20 brands as long as, you have the investment to scale. And then my last big question before we wrap up is, what are your thoughts? And I know you just went through this rebrand to Empower Brands on, do you market Empower or do you market each brand individually? Because it as much as we want to say 50-50, candidates and consumers tend to sway one way or the other. We all want to be neighborly, where it's very easy to say neighborly, but even in their shoes, as the biggest platform brand, I'm sure there's clients out there that go, who? Like I called Mr. Reuter. So what is your take on that? And where do you stand in terms of that branding? Because you've invested a lot to have this new brand. Now, what do you do with it?
Yeah, I would say from a consumer standpoint, we're promoting each individual brand. We are not using, and at this point at least, don't have plans to use the Empower Brands name to begin to market and promote ourselves to homeowners. We believe we have differentiated brands that are unique in their space. We need to promote that brand and promote why they should choose us. So I don't see us using Empower Brands as a consumer brand.
Sure.
On the Fran Dev side and in the franchising industry, we're
Mhm.
beginning to use Empower more as a portfolio. A candidate who's looking at one brand, maybe the territories sold.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
we have 7 other brands that you might want to take a look at. So there's a larger portfolio approach when it comes to FranDev and
Mhm.
allowing prospective franchisees to pick and choose and look at what might be the best fit for them in their life and with their goals. So I think from a franchise industry standpoint and from a FranDev standpoint, you'll start to see Empower brands used more and more.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it doesn't, to your point, doesn't have to be either or, but it tends to make more sense on the Fran Dev side than I guess it probably does to the consumer side. Scott, what's next for you and Empower Brands? I think like it's very easy to say growth, but I'm sure you've got probably some big plans as the entrepreneur you are. So is there anything that you can let us know or what we should expect?
Yeah, I'd say because we have gone through this rapid growth for the next 12 to 18 months, our goal is to focus on and work on the existing brands that we have. I don't, you can't say never, but I can't see us adding many more brands over that time frame. We have a tremendous amount of white space available, and we need to maximize that. And some of these brands are very young in their life cycle. So we're going to focus on those. We're going to continue to build our support teams. I would say on the tech side, there's some work going on there, as I talked about from a data warehouse AI standpoint. There's some things we're working on there to help empower. And I think we're just going to keep doing what we're doing and keep the foot on the gas and help our franchisees reach the goals they have.
I love that. Well, Scott, thank you so much for coming on. We look forward to watching Empower Brands grow. If you guys are interested in any of the brands they have to offer, you can check them out online. And of course, you can connect with Scott on LinkedIn as well. Scott, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to The Art of Franchise Marketing. This show is brought to you by Netsertive. We help franchise brands and multi-location businesses run localized digital marketing at scale. To learn more, visit netsertive.com.